What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with the next episode of Educate and Dominate, that one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names in the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest is going to be coming on board for the first time, representing Guardian 3 Guild, also a Guardian 3 RTA player. We have today Tdins representing Elegy. How are we doing today, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. What's up, everyone?
All right, all right. So if this is the first time tuning in, welcome to the channel. With regards to Educate and Dominate, we talk about a variety of things to include Arena, Guild Wars, and even RTA. With the recent events coming on board, if you guys haven't heard, there's going to be a big tournament. The World Arena Championship's going to be going down at the end of September, September 30th. And it's going to be October 7th for the New York one. First one's LA, the second one's New York. And then we have the finals for that particular event going down November 25th, the weekend of November 25th. So what we're going to be talking about today is a little bit of that RTA strategy, but focusing on one of the most important things that you need to lock down, which is that pick and ban phase. We're going to be talking about picking, the banning, the counter picking, some of the meta talk that goes along with the players at that higher level. So before we get into all that, Tdins, why don't you give us a little bit of a throwback here? This is your first time coming on board. A lot of people are familiar with you because you are playing with quite a handful of people that do RTA with regards to your guild. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into Summoners War?
I'm Tdins 93 on Global from Elegy. I actually downloaded Summoners War 2 years ago in August. One of my brother's friends was playing it on the ride back from about a 5-hour drive up from up north, and he just told me to try downloading it once because I was playing some other, I think, Castle Clash or something like that, a Clash of Clans kind of game. And he told me to download it, and I've been hooked ever since. I summoned Wusa, I think, my 3rd or 4th day of the game. So I was pretty well off from the very start, and as you can see, he's still one of my better monsters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like this was the runes that you first had when you first got started, right? This is how.
Oh yeah, those have been on him since day 2.
Nice. So Summoners War, you got up in there, you started playing the game, you moved on board into the higher ranks, and then you found yourself Elegy, which I currently believe you are one of the vice leaders under. Tell me a little bit about that community and how does it affect your RTA process?
Correct. I just recently got vice about a week or so ago. Pretty happy about that. It's a really fun guild. We have 3 guilds currently, actually. We have Elegy Main Guild, which is a G3 guild. We rush about once a month or so, and otherwise we stick in G3 for the most part. We have a lot of RTA players that are very, very happy to RTA and enjoy it a lot. They're very excited about RTA. They're going to the tournaments. And then we got Elegy X, which is kind of our sister guild. They're a semi competitive guild where they sit in G1, G2 ranks throughout the week with 1 farming and 1 normal defense, and then come Friday-ish they switch over, and every once in a while they're hitting that G3 rank even with the semi-farming guild. And then our farming guild is Elegy Z, so that's where all the people that want to be in a farming guild are going currently.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for the update there. So let's get into that nitty-gritty right now. Pick and ban phase. Out of all the things that we could talk about, what do you feel is like the one main important thing to get into when it comes to the pick and ban process?
I think what you really need to realize is kind of what you're trying to go for in a team comp and what the enemy is going for, to be able to pick your team in a way that counteracts their team, what they're trying to pick.
Gotcha.
So there's a bunch of different kind of team comps that you can pick, and you need to figure out what your team's goal is in terms of an overall strategy for the team versus your opponents. For the most part, I consider there to be 5 different kinds of team comps that people run. The first one is what I call YOLO team comp. It's the people that bring Lucian, an attack bar booster, and then like Faye, Zyros, Sierra, those kind of teams. The ones that everyone hates to fight because it's always that 50-50, am I going to lose it or not?
Right.
And those teams aren't as prevalent in G3 just because of the RNG nature of them. In G3, a lot of times you need to be winning 70-80% of your fights to even maintain that level. So it's not the most stable kind of team in that range.
Gotcha.
The second type of team that I would consider there to be is a heavy CC kind of team. This is like your Okeanos Gani, Verid, Tiana Gemini kind of team, where it's a very fast CC oriented team that wants to just lock you down the entire time. A lot of times they'll bring two strippers just in case you ban one of them out. They'll try to have speed leads, and they're just very fast teams overall that use turn disadvantage for you in order to win. The third type of team that a lot of people use are the immunity and shield teams. It's what I currently use actually. My main team is Wusa, Amelia, Wind Monkey, Raccoony, and then Laika or Chow. Those are my main six. Every once in a while, I rotate others in if my units get picked or banned.
Gotcha.
The fourth type of team that I notice a lot are like the speed nuking teams. These are the ones that bring 3 DPS, 2 attack bar boosters, and just try to destroy one unit instantly and then have a 3v4. So an example team I thought of was Orion, Tiana, Perna, Theo, Sierra, something like that, where they just nuke you down instantly, and they have those 2 fast attack bar boosters in order to be able to get the first turn.
Gotcha.
And then the last team that you see a lot, and this is probably the most common to be steadily G3 and really competitive, is kind of those balanced teams. They bring an aspect of everything. An example of one of those teams is something like a Gani, Wusa, Bastet, Iris, Molong. It has the resets from Gani. It has 2 versions of Strip. It has 2 shields. It has attack break. It has heal block. It has defense break. It has a nuke with Molong. It has 2 versions of heal. It has the Gani reset on any of your monsters if you want to use a skill again. It just kind of brings everything to the table, as well as having fast units. So you have the Bastet and Wusa that can both take first turn.
Gotcha.
So they really can't ban you out of first turn as well.
Gotcha. Giving yourself a lot of options. Very cool. Very
exactly.
Cool.
The one thing that those type of teams sometimes are missing are speed leaders, which are really meta in G3. Not as much for me. I don't really use speed leaders. As most people that know me in RTA would probably know, I kind of go with a tankier team. But balanced teams sometimes do bring speed leaders as well.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, so let me take a look at this list that I'm seeing right here. I gotta talk about the obvious for the players that are not too familiar with RTA. When I think about this list, you can probably make an argument for maybe the YOLO comp as far as and the speed comp, like speed nuke, with regards to some of the compositions that people may see in regular arena. But outside of that, the majority of these teams, right, are not going to be used. So I guess we can kind of come to a conclusion that is when we're talking about arena versus RTA, or anybody that's new looking to come in from arena to RTA, it's a completely different ball game. You can't use the same strategy completely. It's definitely just completely different.
Yeah, if people are looking to use an arena strategy, they're probably going to be stuck in a G1, G2, maybe breaking G3 if they have the correct runes. It really requires a different thought process, and you really have to think about it, especially with the pick phase and ban phase. You don't even know if you're going to get all of your units. Gotcha. And with regular arena, you can use duplicate units. In RTA, you can't. So you can't use 2 Lucians, which already eliminates a lot of the arena meta right now.
Gotcha. Right. And so with regards to these 5 different teams, if you had to pick one that you see the most, what's one of the common that really shows like a positive net, of wins or whatnot? What's the one that you generally see a lot in there?
I would say the most common to be successful is kind of that balanced team. It's kind of just the way teams should be built, I think, are to be able to be balanced and be flexible to be able to do anything. Right. Every team obviously has its weaknesses, and everyone tries to shore up their weaknesses, but that's why there's a ban. Everyone's going to have a weakness then.
Gotcha. So let's get right into that pick and ban process. When we're talking about picking the things, what is some of the things you're looking for as far as getting set up right away?
So the first thing I kind of look into is not trying to reveal your hand too early. For instance, if you're a Lucian player, you don't want to be going out and first picking Lucian because it gives away the entire strategy of what your team comp is going to do. You want to save your Lucian till the last pick and maybe pick, for instance, you pick your Bastet and Tiana. That might be a Lucian team. It might be kind of a nuking team where they're a speed nuking team. You don't want to give away your hand too early. So you want to pick the units that can be used in any kind of team comp first and then progress into your Lucian once you realize that they have nothing to defend against it. Gotcha. I feel like it kind of works the same with the immunity shield comps. You don't want to give away your double immunity instantly. So for me, I personally try to first pick Wusa because he's one of the most contested picks, and then I'll save my Amelia till either second to last pick or last pick, so that one, I don't go heavy water, which is another thing that you don't want to do, is be too reliant on one typing. You don't want to be monotype, because if you're monotype, then they can just counterpick that type, and you really can't do much.
Sure.
Another thing that I look for in the pick phase is, as I kind of discussed with Wusa, to first pick units that are highly contested or very crucial to your comp. So for me, Wusa's kind of both. He's a linchpin to my account, my account and my team composition, but he's also a very highly contested pick that's first picked a lot of the time. So having him not only takes him away from the enemy potentially, but gives me one of my best units.
Gotcha.
Other units that are like this are Ganymede, Sierra, Velajul, Okeanos, Molong. All those units that kind of do a lot in a lot of different team comps are very useful to be first picked. The next thing that I kind of look at is how your pick order determines what the opponent's picking. So like we talked about a little bit earlier with the heavy water team, them end up picking wind, you kind of want to balance your team out. So a lot of times my first 3 picks will be Wusa, Wind Monkey, and Raccoony. That way I have one of each element. It doesn't lay my hand into being either element very heavy. Especially when my team sometimes goes into a 3 water team, because I will have Wusa, Amelia, and Chow. It could be very easy for the enemy to pick something like a Wind Panda that just kind of makes it hard for me to win because he's so tanky, scales so well, and is good against all 3 of those units.
Right on.
Like I was saying, your picking entices the opponent, but it also works the same way. If you notice them picking a certain way, it entices you.
Yeah, most definitely. And I was kind of thinking about just with regards to the first three monsters you were talking about right there, the Wind Monkey King and the Raccoony there, 2 units that are heavily reliant on passes. I don't know what you think, but just kind of off topic here, it seems like a lot of these certain passive monsters are getting brought into the meta, but yet there's only just a handful of units that have Oblivion, which for those that don't know is what kind of silences the passive of these monsters here. What's your take about that, by the way?
Passives are super strong because of what you just said with the lack of Oblivion. I believe there's only 3 monsters currently that have Oblivion. No, there's 2. There's 2. I was thinking the Light Valkyrie, but she has a silence, not Oblivion.
Gotcha.
So the 2 monsters with Oblivion are Isis, the Light Polar Queen, or Desert Queen rather, the Light Desert Queen, and then Tessa, which everyone has a Tessa because of him being a free-to-play unit from Guild Wars. So for me personally, Tessa becomes a very, very, very difficult pick to play against, even with the double immunity units. One thing that I'd say is be careful when you're picking units as well. So one unit that I used to pick almost religiously was Chasun, and that was a lot of last season. But you have to be careful because you need to know the meta units. Right now, Ganymede's very good, Okeanos is very good. These are both units that have a reset skill. Think of a Chasun without her second and third skill. All she's doing is throwing flowers at people, maybe landing a glancing. So it basically becomes a 3v4 in that scenario. So you have to be really careful when picking to pick units that aren't going to be countered by these meta units. To kind of piggyback off of that, that's another reason I think that passives are very good right now, is
Right.
because of the fact that those resetting units are meta.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
can't reset a passive, basically.
Gotcha. And so, what about the aspect of counterpicking? We've heard a little bit about it. We talked a little bit in the last RTA event, the Mobile Masters Invitational. Tell me a little bit about the counterpick and how that kind of incorporates with regards to this pick and ban phase.
So for me, counterpicking is picking a unit that your opponent does not want to play against and that you're almost forcing them to ban. The biggest example of this is when Lucian pickers have second pick and they pick Lucian before the first pick gets their last 2 picks. So the first pick will have 3 picks out. The Lucian picker will have 2 picks. Lucian picker will have 4 picks out, and their Lucian will be out. Where the first pick player can just pick something like a Rakan Perna and completely negate the Lucian and make him 100% useless because those 2 units just counter Lucian so well.
Right.
A kind of a free-to-play kind of unit to do this that I've found is to bring a Kamoon. he doesn't. Most of the time, people don't think Kamun's that great in RTA, but what he does excel in is short fights because that timer doesn't get going, which means he's still at full power. So against Lucian, those guys are trying to kill you in the first or second turn. If they can't kill you in the first or second turn, why does it matter if he doesn't lose his HP from the timer?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's an interesting point here. Thinking about the counterpicking, one of the things that we talked about off camera was the understanding of counterpicking from other people's perspective. You know, initially when I talked to you, I was thinking about counterpicking as picking a unit that your opponent is going to do, kind of almost leveling your opponent so that you force him to kind of screw up his kind of style. But of course, at the level of your game, you guys are going to have a ton of different options. So let me ask you this before we get into some of the pictures that we're going to be showcasing your pick and bans versus some of the top 50 players out there. What is your take on that type of aspect of counter picking? Are you a person that likes to stick to your strategy for the most part? Or if you see somebody and you've skirmed with them, you know, quite a bit, you're looking to pick something that they generally will pick all the time?
So I think the aspect of counter picking in that sense is a lot more relevant with the super meta units, like I discussed earlier: Wusa, Gani, Sierra, Vela, Okeanos, Molong, even Beta is starting to get up there, especially after the YDCB tournament that Syntac had won using Beta against Tiger.
Right, an extremely
So
fast Beta, right?
exactly, those kind of units are the ones that you have to worry about getting counterpicked more so than the units that are a little bit lower on the list. And I think it's even more relevant for those counterpicking in this sense in tournament play. So in these tournaments that are coming up, you're going to see counterpicking so much more because everyone is going to know each other's units.
Yep.
Everyone has studied each other that's going to these tournaments, and we all know each other's units to the point where no one's going to get the exact team that they want.
Yep.
In regular RTA, where it's just you press play battle and you play whoever you choose out of the world, they might be C3, they might be G1, they might be G3, where it's a bigger fluctuation. I don't think that kind of counterpicking is as relevant unless
Yep.
it's someone known that you know their units. That's
Yep.
when it becomes relevant.
Yep, and there's one good thing to point out there that actually they were initially talking about with regards to Mobile Masters Invitational, is that kind of picking aspect, knowing your opponent, knowing what they do, how they're ruined. You know, early on, there was a lot of talk about creating some kind of an observer mode so that the viewers can see. But me personally, I wasn't a big fan of that because for all the work that you guys do in order to get to your units to where it is to be, you know, the last thing you want to do is literally showcase the world what they are, because if one person gets that information, it gets passed on to somebody else, and then they can essentially kind of create a strategy in the head of what they want to do based on what they hear. Funny enough, that was going to be in the event, but they actually took it away last minute because I mentioned a few things. Coming into these particular RTA events, you got to imagine that people are going to think at that next level, knowing maybe, you know, somebody's kind of scoping them out or maybe kind of has a feel for them because they, play with them quite a bit. I would imagine that there got to be some people mixing and matching those runes. Me personally,
Yeah.
talking about, your guildmate Syntac, I would have never thought in a million years that he would have busted out a Swift Beta, but like you said, it played a vital role in for him getting that #1 rank in one of YDCB's tournaments. So it's pretty cool to see people mix it up.
And at the World RTA tournament, people are going to be switching runes from match to match.
Yep.
They're going to be switching every match. They're going to be using different units every match. They're going to be using different comps every match. They're going to be specifically picking certain comps against certain people because everyone knows each other's units at that rank.
Yep.
So it really will switch match to match what everyone uses.
And I'm very excited about it. I hope they do that. I mean, hey, shout out to Comp to us one time. You're about to get a lot of money from those free rune removal packs. You know what I'm saying? Get ready for that. There's a lot of people are going to be mixing it up here. So, but yeah, let's get back into it. Pick and ban phase. We've been hitting it all up with regards to the picking process. But as you know, when it comes to this layout of monsters that you have, if you do not pick or ban the appropriate monster, that can really set you back and even, almost, end the game right then and there.
Correct. With regards to the ban phase, I think knowing your team and its weaknesses is like the most important part of ban phase. It takes a lot of games and a lot of matches to learn what you need to ban in what situation. Everyone's team is different. Everyone's runes are different. So you never really know what someone else needs to ban. You can kind of take a guess and you know what your team is bad against, but you can never really know for sure what they're bad against. you can have teams that you just kind of know the weakness of in general, but with people's different runes, maybe something's on Swift instead of Violent. One really good example is a Swift Veligil versus a Violent Veligil. It's a night and day difference. It could be used as an attack bar booster, or it could be used as like a defensive immunity unit. Both of them are good, and it serves both purposes. But if it's that attack bar booster, they might be able to one-shot something right off the gate because they get first turn because of it.
Yep.
So it really depends on team by team what you're banning, because you know what your units do. You might not know what their units do. Another thing you want to think about during the ban phase is what unit really holds the enemy's team together. What's their backbone to their team that holds it all together? Is it their healer? Is it their immunity unit? What unit is it that really holds it together? A lot of times it's not going to be the most OP unit that you want to ban. It's going to be the one that kind of completes their team comp altogether and holds it together the best.
Yeah, really, really good point. Cool. So what we're going to be doing right now is giving you guys a little bit of a taste, taking this information and putting it into play here. We're going to give you guys a handful of different pictures so that you can go ahead and take a look at from Tdins matches, and then we're going to analyze it from start to finish and try to figure out which one it is to ban. What I want you guys to go ahead and do and play along with me is, once we get it all lined up and set out, take a second to pause the video and ask yourself, what would you ban and why? And then obviously the video will continue to go, and you'll be able to kind of hear what the actual bans ended up being. All right, so we will be right back. So we got about 8 pictures to look at. We're going to start out with this first one here with Tdins featuring versus Lucky Popka. Let's go ahead and walk through the process here. It looks like it was the Popka that got the first pick here.
Correct, and he first picked Mo Long, one of those ones that I said is a very common first pick that is a very contested pick, so I'm not too surprised by that. My common response is exactly what I did with Wusa and Wind Monkey. Those are two of the picks that I really like to have. Wusa, for the obvious reasons, he has a shield, he has the immunity, he has sleep potential on first skill, he has a pretty nice heal. And then my Wind Monkey is a super tanky damage dealer that scales very well into the game, as well as has my defense break. He also does that stun chance on revenge.
Gotcha.
He responds to that with a Chasun Perna, which is actually very threatening to my team comp. Perna is one of those ones where I have to start picking more water, because otherwise Perna is just going to solo you. And then Chasun, I kind of struggle against Chasuns because they bring two things that I have trouble against: the heal as well as the attack buff. And attack buff is a big deal against my team, I feel like.
Right.
So I respond to that with one of my common responses to what he laid there, which is the water pony and Chow. This kind of nullifies the Perna a little bit, because I have 3 water units now, as well as gives me a little bit more immunity so that his stripper can't keep me stripped completely the entire time, and gives me that extra damage dealer that I need.
Gotcha. And if I recall correctly, that Amelia, the water unicorn there, it actually provides a passive immunity that gives you every turn for one turn for immunity, correct?
Correct. For those that don't know, the water unicorn can switch between forms. So she can go into human form or her unicorn form, but she starts in the unicorn form. And when she switches over to human form, she loses a percentage of her health. I'm not exactly sure what percent, but she gets pretty squishy. However, she gets a passive that gives a pulsating immunity every turn. So it gives a 1-turn immunity. And then she has a cleanse defense buff skill. So mixing the defense buff, cleanse, and Wusa shield is a super strong combo, because the shield and defense buff interact very well together. The defense buff negates damage from the shield, which means your shield lasts longer.
Gotcha.
But he responds to that with a Leo and Raccoony, and with that Raccoony, he actually stole one of my picks here. So I had to kind of go into the bench here and notice that his team is pretty weak against Tessarion. He has 3 passive users, and one of them is super weak, being the Perna. The Raccoony is useless without his passive, because he can't cleanse anything, he doesn't heal anything. All he's useful for then is a gauge boost and his first skill, which does minimal damage and gives 15% attack bar. and then the Leo's passive gets completely nullified with the Tessarion, making most people's zero speed Leos super slow and useless again.
Gotcha. Let me add something here real quick. With regards to Cesarian, I feel like me personally, kind of going through the thought process with you, I definitely could see that that should have been an obvious pick for you, considering that they picked the opponent. For people out there that maybe play another type of composition that does have a lot of passive units, they're going to be looking to, they're probably going to have to deal with that Cesarian. As a person that sees it, as a person that is seeing these many people use these kind of passive based units, how many units would you say like that kind of screams like, hey, I need to stop what I'm doing. I need to get the Saurian out there so that they can force the ban and possibly, leave you with your 4 main units. What do you think?
Oof. So it's kind of a two-way thing. It depends on your team comp as well.
Right.
If the Tessarion picker doesn't have strips and you have immunity units, then he's not that threatening because you just put the immunity up and he can't Oblivion you.
Gotcha.
However, if they have strippers and Tessarion, you have no immunity, then he becomes very threatening, especially for the likes of Perna, Artamiel, Raccoony, even Leica especially. Leica gets super destroyed by Tessarion. If you get a triple crush with a defense break into just about any other bruiser unit hitting you, he's dead. So it really does hurt a lot of the meta bruisers, I would say.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So kind of look at it overall. Tell me a little bit about your process on which one you went ahead and picked and which one you think your opponent's going to pick.
So my thought process, I kind of gave it away a little bit earlier, was what are his options for healing? He has the Chisoon, he has Perna, and he has Raccoony. 2 of those 3 I can negate with the Tessarion if he doesn't ban it. And the Chisoon always gets those heals. Another thing that I thought about was the Chisoon plus Water Panda combo is deadly because right. Water Panda can use his 3rd skill into a Chisoon Fallen Blossom, giving him full health again. So basically it's like he didn't lose the health from the 3rd skill. So for me it's pretty obvious to ban the Chisoon and then nuke down the Water Panda so that he couldn't get the huge burst. And
Gotcha.
From there I have enough sustain and defensiveness that I can take out the rest of his units pretty easily.
Gotcha. So Jasoon's the ban there, and then if you were Pop Cup picking here, I guess we'd have to say the obvious ban would have to be Tessarion there because it's just too crucial versus this comp that's made of Oblivion. It's the Oblivion team. There it is.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely have to ban the Tessarion if I'm him. I would say 60% of his team is affected by it. He has no way of stopping it.
Gotcha.
It's just too threatening for him.
Gotcha.
Which really sucks. Like this is a scenario where we can go back to counter picking. The Tessarion was a perfect counter pick in this position because he has to ban it. He doesn't want to face those first 4 units, but he has to ban the Tessarion.
Yeah. Well stated. All right. So on the official side of things, when you got done with this, you did end up banning the Chisoon, and then of course he did end up banning the Tessarion. So very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one here. We have yourself once again versus Aria D. He also gets the first pick. Man, the luck is not on your side here with these first picks, huh? Tell you what. So he's starting out with that Wusa pick. Tell me a little about this thought process.
Correct. So with this one, I kind of wanted to showcase when I get some of my main units stolen, being the Wusa and Leica.
Okay.
Wusa is my first pick every time, so it being first picked from me kind of leaves me on this weird island where even on the reverse side, I can't pick my first 2 units normally that I would normally pick, being Wusa and Wind Monkey. So I kind of divert and go Wusa and Water Pony. It's similar but not the same because I still get the immunity, but I don't get the shield and heal. He responds by picking one of my other units that I commonly pick, being the Leica, and then following up with the Leo. The Leo is very threatening to my team just because he can solo my team very easily if he bans correctly, basically, especially on Vampire. I've been soloed by many Vampire Leos. I respond to that, seeing the two passive users with a Tessarion again, and then a Chow. Chow being because he has the Leica. Chow is not a great response to Leica, but it's my best chance against Leica. Normally, I would pick Leica here, but I can't because he chose it. And
Gotcha.
Chow is like my last bruiser option, basically, instead of a Theo, which is not going to last long enough. He responds with the Orion and Perna, which just plays into my Tessarion even more, because it just gives him the ability to run free. And then I responded with the Chisoon. In retrospect, looking at this, I probably should have picked Delphoy there to use that second immunity unit, thinking he would ban the Amelia. However, it did work out because I did win this one in the end. And then for ban thoughts, I was thinking he's going to ban the Amelia 100%. There's no way he doesn't, because if he doesn't ban it, if my Amelia is faster than his Orion, I get the full team immunity, as well as my Amelia is my only immunity monster.
Gotcha.
So it's just kind of common sense too. And in that thought I have to ban the Wusa, and then kind of hope that I get resistance from the Tessarion lead and resist the defense break from Orion.
Gotcha.
Which is exactly how it went. So I banned the Wusa, and then he banned the Amelia, and the Orion missed the defense break. He wasn't able to one-shot me. I was able to heal up with Chisoon and then take him out one at a time with the Oblivion plus damage units.
Gotcha. Right, and something to add to there too. We're always talking about these meta units and whatnot here, but I'm sure some people caught it, but they might have missed it there. You said the name Delphoy, one of those units that can definitely play a viable role in the RTA meta, but that do not, like, people are not really talking about it because they have the the premium units. But as far as an alternative option for immunity, for a heal, for a reset, which is super strong, right? That's what everybody loves to have. It's actually a decent unit.
Don't forget to mention cleanse.
Cleansers
are huge.
I thought I said cleanse. Yeah, I thought I said cleanse. So
nope, you said immunity and heal, but yeah, the cleanse is super nice too. Delphoy is one of those units that it does a little bit of everything, but doesn't do everything quite enough to be like an every game pick.
Gotcha.
As well as she's a little slow. She's like 96 base speed, I think.
Right, I believe it is. Right around there, 96, 97. Yep. Cool. Alrighty, well, let's take a look at this next one here. This one here is going to be pretty interesting. It looks like somebody has been swiping their Visa just a little too much. Shout out to Shout X one time. All right, so go ahead and run us through it.
So for this one, I did get the first pick, which was very nice. I finally got my Wusa. So I first picked Wusa like I always do. He responded with a Velajewel and a Wind Panda, to which I responded with Monkey and my Amelia. Now, normally, I know we talked about it earlier that I usually use Raccoony. I think this was one of the matches that was before I kind of realized that I get heavily picked against. But in this match, it kind of worked out that I didn't pick the Raccoony in that slot.
Gotcha.
This is where he fully swiped his Visa and went with the Viva Shell and Artamio combo. And that's where I'm just sitting there staring at the camera going, what did I get myself into?
Right.
With that, I responded with the Leica and Chisoon. So Chisoon in this case, I thought was a good pick. One, I feel like Chisoon is pretty good against Viva Shell because if she's tuned correctly, she can Fallen Blossom the Viva Shell third. It's kind of a crapshoot on if it works or not, but it works every once in a while. As well as it gives me the attack buff to be able to try to one-shot something, and it gives me heals. I don't see any resetters for him currently. Worst case scenario, I want to face these first four. Is my mind process going into that if he picks something like a Ganny last.
Right.
Otherwise, he also has no strippers currently. So if he does pick a Ganny last, I might not even ban the Ganny because I have double immunity. So that's my thought process with the Chisoon there. He last picks Gianna, and that's where I just do a table flip.
The rage is in.
This was one of the ones I had on stream, and I'm pretty sure I just stared into the camera face palming for about 10 to 15 seconds.
Man. That has to be a pretty rough time, pretty hard decision to make here. So what did you end up going with, and what do you think he ended up going with there?
So my ban choice is going to be pretty shocking to most people, I feel like. I feel like the common thought is you insta-ban that Gianna. However, I banned the Artamio, and I do have a reasoning for that. One, Artamio's the only one on his team with a burst healing ability. Two, Artamio can really screw me over with the stuns on their revenges. And with my units Artamiel stuns me all the time. Let's put it that way. I don't like facing Artamiel.
Gotcha.
And then the third one is I'm gonna kill that Gianna instantly. I'm not gonna buff up with Wusa. He doesn't have anything that I'm really afraid of one-shotting me. To kind of preface that, my team is a very slow, bruisery, tanky team, so I'm not too scared of the Viva Shell because I think it's gonna be faster than me. For people that don't understand Viva Shell's third, you switch the attack bar and HP bar. So if he's switching the attack bar and HP bar and I'm slower than him, it's going to be going from like 70% and 100% to 70% and 100% HP attack bar. It's not a big enough deal to make him be able to one-shot anything. So I ban the Artamiel here, and I'm fully expecting him to ban either Jasoon, Amelia, or Wind Monkey.
Gotcha.
The reasoning for that is with the Leica, he doesn't care about it because of the Viva Shell or the Gianna. He has either bombs or the Viva Shell third, which goes through Leica passive and will just put him at 1 HP if he gets to that point.
Gotcha.
So I'm expecting either Jasoon to negate all my healing or the Amelia. The reason I don't think he's going to ban Wusa is because he has the Gianna, and Gianna kind of completely counters Wusa. Because
Gotcha.
you put up the buffs and then she just completely stuns.
Gotcha. And so, with regards to the end of this, you ended up banning the Artamiel, but he actually went for Amelia over a different, like Jasoon or something like that. So, let me ask you this. I mean, with regards to the double immunity aspect, generally I don't see a lot of people banning one of the two double immunity if they can't counter it completely. But, like you kind of said, coming from his end, he probably, putting that last pick of Gianna, like that is his only type of buff removal there outside of the Archangels, whatnot. But I mean, like a strong buff removal. I mean, he's got to think in the head that you're probably going to ban the Gianna. So why do you think he goes for the Amelia over like Jasoon or somebody else?
Couldn't tell you. I think Jasoon was his ban. It negates 90% of my healing. It takes away the attack buff, so I can't one-shot anything. He has a super tanky team there. There's no way I kill anything if I don't have attack buff.
Right.
I couldn't tell you. The only reason I could say is he thinks I'm going to ban the Gianna.
Gotcha. And so, yeah, taking a look at the notes here, it says here that he actually did went ahead and banned Amelia, though, huh?
Yes, he did ban Amelia.
Man, I'm gonna have to send him a private message to try to figure out that thought process. There. All right. All right, here. Let's take a look at the next one. We got Tdins versus What the Fwa. That's part of my crew, Epic Fail Community. Shameless plug. Hashtag EFA. How we doing today? Let's see what we got in store for here. What do you know? First pick, once again, goes to somebody else other than Tdins here. All right, tell me about it.
So, to kind of preface this, a few days, like 2 days before this match, Fwa and I skirmed for probably a solid 2 hours. So he knew my team like the back of his hand. I was winning him at the beginning of the skirm session, and by the end of it, he was just destroying me every time. So he first picked my Wusa, and I was not surprised whatsoever. So I responded with two of my bruisers. The reason I did this is because I know Fwa has both of these units, and if I don't pick both of them, he's going to take one of them in the next rotation with either my pony or the other one. So either way, he's going to get 3 of my units, is my thought process here. So I want to take my 2 damage dealers, and I'll just say screw the immunity, and I'll go without it. So as I suspected, he picks my pony, and then he goes with an Ethna. And from skirming him, I knew his main DPS were all wind units. So that's what makes me want to choose Leica here. It gives me a 3rd DPS unit, as well as it is good against his wind DPS, because obviously it's a fire unit. As well as it's very good against Ethna, because she has an AoE spammable skill basically on the 2nd skill. It gives her the attack bar, and it's a 2-turn cooldown. With AoE, Leica revenges. So anytime she AoEs, it's a 50% chance of Leica hitting her back, just increasing the chance of killing her faster.
All right.
I also bring the Tiana because I decided if I can't have the immunity, I'm just going to bring the strippers. I'm going to take the immunity away from him in that sense. He responds with a Sierra and then his Sonnet, which is one of his favorite picks, I think.
Right, it is.
And it definitely terrorized me when we were skirming. That thing procs like no other.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
And then yeah. When I got the last pick, I responded like I said earlier with the 2nd stripper. So I chose my Chiwu. In my thought of banning here, there's kind of 2 factors to what I banned. One, I'm definitely going to ban one of his DPS because I have a triple DPS team. My thought process is I have tanky DPS that 2 of the 3 of them heal. And the one that doesn't heal is the tankiest unit on my team and has a passive that reduces his damage by 25% in the Wind Monkey. So if he bans, or I should say, if I ban one of his DPS, he has to kill my units that much faster because I have so much more DPS than him.
Gotcha.
The next thought is he has super fast units. I don't want to make them faster.
Right.
So therefore, my ban is going to be the Sierra.
Gotcha.
When I'm thinking, what? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you just something on the side here. A lot of times, you know, when I kind of get in a situation where you made a comment about speed and like, you know, how speed is king and whatnot here. If you get in a situation where you have the opportunity, let's say you're running SCR or and you know they're going to get the first turn or whatever, but you have another option where you have, you know, Xingzai, Chao, whatever that can give you, you know, HP lead, you know, like Xingzai can. If you know you're not going to get the first turn, do you opt for a leader skill that's going to provide you a little bit more sustain, or do you still pick your speed-based leader skill just to give you more turns, you know, over time?
I'd say that depends on the match and the player. Personally, I go for the tankiness just because I'm more of a tanky second turn player.
Okay.
However, I kind of counteracted what I said in this match.
Right.
But a lot of people still choose speed lead. A lot of people in the top ranks actually choose accuracy when they're running those Ganymede Okeanos comps. They'll choose accuracy over the speed lead, especially if they know they're going to outspeed someone. Because if they know they're going to outspeed you and they're running one of them control comps, that just means if they're going to outspeed you, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit faster. It matters that they land their attack bar reduction. It matters that they land their stuns. It matters more that they land these abilities than to be a little bit faster.
Yep. And so kind of getting back to that last part there with regards to Sonnet, I think you were saying?
I was saying that I was banning out the Sierra, actually.
Oh, okay.
And then when I'm thinking of what he would ban, the scariest thing I think he could ban is the Leica. It makes it so that he has a longer survivability time that I have to kill him in, as well as it takes away the biggest threat to his wind damage dealers. He's not afraid of the monkey too much because he has the immunity units and the cleanse if I don't ban the Amelia. And he's not too afraid of the Chow because both of his DPS are wind. So I would say he should ban the Leica here. Unfortunately, he bans the Tiana, which I personally don't completely understand due to the fact that I have 2 strippers. So either way, I'm going to get that strip off.
Right. And with regards to that, even if you get the first turn, you have 3 like sustained units. It's not like you're going to essentially lock them down or whatnot. I mean, that's interesting.
So I think he would have won this if he banned correctly, but I think he misbanned.
Gotcha. Foi put a childish. That's what he did right there. All right. And so you went ahead, you said, and went with that Sierra ban, correct?
Correct. I banned the Sierra and he banned the Tiana.
Gotcha.
And then it kind of worked out, like I said, where I just outlasted him a little bit, where it ended up being like 2v1 at the end, and I outlasted him basically with my DPS.
Gotcha. So before I get into the next one here, I want to take a quick second to talk about one of the monsters that have been featured in your team quite a few times here, despite the fact that it recently got nerfed here. Tell me a little bit about, like, post-nerf, what's your complete thoughts about this unit?
So many people have been asking me about this in my stream lately. So at first, when I heard of the nerfs, I was pretty sad. I thought it was probably going to be a RIP Leica, but I was going to give him a try still because he's one of the few units that I have, and he was still going to do a lot of damage. There's no doubting his Justice skill. It does insane damage. And when I began to use him, I began to notice that the nerf wasn't as impactful as I thought for me. The reasoning behind this is I use immunity, so I protect my Leica. It's not like he's going to be getting insta-killed when he has shield, immunity, and defense buff up 75% of the time. So it's going to be hard to kill him still, and he still does that revenge hit. He still does damage back to you. He might not stun, but he does the damage. The second part of that is a lot of times I don't ban the enemy's immunity user. So I didn't really notice the stun as much as other people where they were using him in more aggressive comps that didn't have all of the immunity units and the defensive capabilities. So for me, I think I didn't notice the impact of it as much. I do notice I don't pick him quite as much, but I didn't notice the impact of the nerf as much as other players.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for that. Because I'm a Leica user, obviously, and I ain't gonna lie, I de-ruined them. I drank the Kool-Aid like everybody else does, but I want to give a quick shout out to Scott Fetus because we were doing some RTA. The first time I did RTA after getting, I think I pulled Tableau, and I was just starting to practice around with teams, but I didn't have the right units there. I took out Leica to play around with Tableau in certain comps. And I knew Tableau wasn't working, but I didn't want to play with Leica because I wanted to use this rune somewhere else. And he's like, dude, re-rune Leica. What are you doing? He's still good.
Do it.
So funny enough, I re-rune Leica, and after losing 6 matches in a row, getting on tilt, I win like the next 5 on stream. So of course I felt like a champ, but not to the people that watched me lose the 6 ones early on. I went from high NG1 to Conquer 3. Good game.
Oh, rip.
Good
yeah,
game.
I think I don't know how many people have seen Fwa's tier list that he actually just made the other day, but he actually still has Leica at an S tier, so he's still a pretty good unit. One of the better bruiser units still.
Yep, definitely. And of course, for those people that are watching right now, we got that tier list is showcased for you right now, so you can kind of see it. If you want a copy of it, let me know, and I'll provide a link for you guys in the near future here. All right, what do you think here? Let's take a look at this next team here.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So I think it's Two Love versus you, of course. And this is one that actually got recently featured on one of YDCB's tournament. I think it might have been the Asia 8 tournament. I'm not too sure.
Two Love did or the match?
Two Love. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
and Two Love, he was featured on that. Yeah, he's featured on the tournament. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I do my normal first pick here of Wusa, and he responds with a very common double pick of Ganymede, Molong. As we discussed earlier, 2 of the most common picks, 2 highly contested picks that a lot of people use. And they synchronize very well together because it's a strip stun as well as attack bar decrease resets. I respond to that with, as I was talking earlier, I like to do that fire, water, wind core with the Wind Monkey and the Raccoony. In which case he brings out the Gianna and I'm blanking on her name, but the Dark Sylphid here. What she does is she's kind of similar to Molong in that she has an HP-based damage skill that has a fairly long cooldown. So the combination of her and Molong is pretty threatening due to the fact that they can both do HP-based damage and just one-shot something. Okay. My response to that is my common response of Amelia and Leica. So the thought process here with Leica is he can't be one-shot. It takes 3 shots to kill him at the very minimum. So the combination of those 2 units using their 3rd skill will not kill him. With the Wind Monkey, it's going to be a close call as well because his passive affects both of those skills. So he takes 25% reduced damage. So the Water Panda only does, 45% damage to Wind Monkey.
Gotcha.
He responds to this with a Perna. So my thought process for the ban here becomes, what is going to be the scariest? And I'm not going to lie, that Gianna looks scary.
That looks pretty scary to me. I think it's funny because when I see Ganymede, I almost insta-ban without even thinking, but I agree with you there. I think Gianna's going to be the one to go with. So.
And with the Ganymede insta-ban kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with not banning the most OP unit is going to be the best all the time, but banning what keeps their comp together. With the Gianna, he's going to almost for sure AoE stun me. Otherwise, I can't get up any of my immunity or anything like that. He's going to be laying bombs everywhere. It's just the scariest unit. The second strip from the Molong is not guaranteed, and it has a chance of failing, obviously, because it's only, I think, a 15% chance to strip.
Gotcha. And, of course, so you're not too concerned about the double combination there with the 3rd skill on Molong as well as the Dark Sylphid there?
So I'm not concerned about that because Molong's going to kill himself for it if he does it. And he can't do it on either of my DPS because neither of them are going to die from that combination because of Wusa Shield plus their double passives. So if he wants to kill my support units, I'll take that 3v3 then with my other support unit and my 2 DPS versus his Sylphid, Ganny, and Perna. Especially because he just blew his biggest cooldown on the Sylphid and it's useless for, I think, 6 turns.
Gotcha. Good point.
On his end, he bans my Amelia here, which if I was him, I think I would have banned one of the DPS. I probably would have banned the Leica
Right.
and then go after the monkey. He could have done the double combo. It might not have killed instantly, but then he can follow up with a Perna hit as well.
Right. And seeing that you're running like a 3-2 here, like three support, 2 DPS, generally speaking, do most go for one of the DPS there to kind of keep you at bay with regards to the overall damage you can do?
I would say no. Most people ban my Wusa
Gotcha.
just because Wusa is commonly run on Swift, and a lot of times they want to take the first turn. If they can ban the Wusa out, get the first turn ahead of me, they can try to kill one thing instantly.
Gotcha. And it's pretty interesting to say because I know that with regards to the previous match we were talking about with regards to Foy, one of the strategies that he used to employ was running like a four support 1 DPS where he would almost try to motivate somebody to say, hey, let's go for the DPS and ban it, when ultimately his DPS was a support, his ability to control or you know, just essentially control the fight depending on what kind of combo. He had a couple of different comps, but it was pretty interesting because like every time I looked at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to ban that one definitely. And he's like, yeah, that's what I want you to do, you know, kind of bait him out. So
That's exactly what Syntac did to Tiger in the YDCB tournament.
right.
He had four support units that were kind of heavy CC, and then he had the Fae.
And he was able, and I think he had a couple of matches where he actually kept the Fae too.
Correct.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's move on to this next one here. I apologize in advance if this guy is watching, this guy or girl, but I obviously cannot pronounce that name. Let's take a look at this one. I'm glad you picked this one here because this is a little bit different than what we've seen already. A lot of CC teams or sustain teams. Now we got something a little bit more on that YOLO aspect here. So you do see this in the higher ranks.
Correct. And with being in the higher ranks, you face everything from C3 to G3. So really, you do face all sorts of different teams. I did try to choose something from every kind of composition that we talked about, though, to the best of my ability. So with this one, he first picks the Tiana, and in that, I'm thinking he's going to go double stripper. It's not really going to change my thought process in picking my Wusa, but it kind of alarms me, like, okay, what's he going to do? Is he going to go YOLO? Is he going to go double stripper? How is he going to play this? So I do my standard pick of Wusa Monkey. He responds with the Bastet Sierra, and that kind of tells me he's going to go a little bit more on the YOLO end. He's going a big damage dealer, a stripper, and a attack bar boosting attack buffer. He has 2 attack bar boosters. It's kind of leading towards a YOLO comp. So I respond to that with my double fire unit. It's a very common response to seeing a wind DPS and the Bastet attack buffer. Just because fire units are obviously very good against the wind units. He responds with a Kali and a Lucian. I've actually been baited by Kali once before, so I've banned the Bastet before when they brought a Kali and not realized Kali brings the attack buff as well.
Right.
And then still been Lucianed, and people still make fun of me for it. But in this case, this is one of those scenarios where the Amelia pick is useless. She's not going to do anything because the immunity doesn't help against Lucian. And bringing her into human form just makes her squishier in general. So I bring a third DPS in Chow, who's also super tanky and can withhold a Lucian.
Interesting.
My thought process with the banning here is he has double attack buffer. So if I ban one, he still has it. If I ban either of them, he still has an attack bar booster. So he has all of his bases covered to be able to Lucian me no matter what if I ban any of the 3 units between Tiana, Bastet, and Kali, which leaves 2 units. Banning Sierra is not really going to do anything. Yeah, it gets rid of his speed lead, but he's going to... I guarantee he's going to ban Lucian, or Wusa anyway. Everyone bans Wusa in this case because they know it's the fastest. And if you ban Tiana, then they're kind of screwed with you having Wusa. You get the damage mitigation from the shield. You get to go first, all of that kind of stuff. So I know he's banning Wusa. So I'm down to either Sierra or Lucian. To me, in this case, it's a pretty obvious choice of Lucian, being the AoE damage dealer, can heavy nuke everything, versus the Sierra that can only hit 1 unit. So I ban the Lucian here, and he does ban the Wusa.
Gotcha, yeah, and that's a pretty interesting scenario here. I'm going to take a look at his particular 3-pick choices. One of the things we talked about was in your list of pick and ban topics here is not choosing a unit that will essentially kind of display what we're talking about. One of the things that I like to do, I'm fortunate enough to have a CR, is I generally like to first pick Ciara, because Ciara can be a part of just a ton of different compositions here. So, keeping in line with what he chose with regards to Tiana, do you feel like you did still not know kind of what he was kind of going with, or do you feel like if he went with the Ciara route, then went Bastet Tiana, like it would have not as portrayed what he was kind of do, or what's your take on that?
So his first three picks are fine. Like it doesn't say 100% what he's gonna do, but to me it tells me he's gonna be more on the aggressive side. If
Yeah,
he would have picked like a Eligible best at Ciara, then I probably would have picked a little bit differently. I would have picked Pony and Raccoony probably to see what his last two picks are for my last pick. But
gotcha.
because it's a Tiana, it's a little bit scarier for the aggressive compositions. So I had a feeling he was going to go with an aggressive composition. I didn't know if that meant he was going to do some CC units at the end, in which case I
Gotcha.
could have just last picked Pony, or if he was going to do this kind of a comp.
Right. So regardless if he picked his double attack bar boosters on that second round versus one on the first round, on the second round, it would have made no difference. You still kind of understood what he was trying to do, from each point.
Yeah, and for me, leaving Pony open as the last pick, I don't think he's going to pick it with those first three picks. It's just a weird pick for him in that scenario. So picking the two fire units counteracts the one wind unit he has and protects me from the Lucian.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Let's take a look at this next one here. We got two more to go. We got Mr. Z. Okay, so we got Tdins versus Z here, another G2 player here. Go ahead and run me through this one.
So for this one, my standard pick order kind of, I start out with the Wusa, and he responds with something that's very scary to me because I run a slow comp. So he responds with the Hathor and the Raha. Hathor is super threatening to me because of how slow I am. With the two-turn sleep, everyone starts to lap me if they're running a faster comp. And then Hathor ends up getting her sleep back up again, and I just never move. I respond to that with the Monkey and the Raccoony. Raccoony's pretty good against Hathor because of the ability to cleanse the sleep on the lowest target, as well as just heal in general. And then Wind Monkey's kind of one of my common picks. He responds with Cesarion, which is another one of my hated picks, and the Fire Monkey. Fire Monkey I'm not too threatened by, just because I don't run CC, and that's kind of what it's used against.
Sure.
And since he picked two fire units, I responded with a Chow and my Pony. So I picked the water units at the end, seeing the fire units. At this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to ban the Stripper unless he picks another Stripper, in which case I will ban the Hathor. He picks Wind Panda last, which is a very good pick from him, I feel. It's good against my composition because obviously Wind Panda is very good against Chow. And while Wind Monkey is going to be good against the Wind Panda, it's not like it's kind of a toss-up on who's going to 1v1 in that scenario.
Right.
And I have to depend on my other units a lot too.
Right. And with regards to Hathor here, even though it's another one of those premium kind of meta units, it really doesn't matter because you're just bringing a stack load of immunity. You're not too concerned about it. He has.
Correct. In this scenario especially. So my thought process is he has the single target strip from Hathor, which I'm not 100% concerned about. But then he has that full strip from Praha. Not only does it full strip, but it also gives dots, so it's also killing me at the same time.
Right. Right.
Also, on top of that, his Praha is a healer. So it's going to do that burst heal compared to just the 15% heal from the Wind Panda. So for me, I ban the Praha here. And from his side, what I think he should have banned is probably the Wind Monkey.
Okay.
Just because he's got 3 DPS and could have bursted something down faster, but he ends up banning the Amelia.
Gotcha.
Amelia is a good ban if I would have left both Hathor and Praha up, but there was no way I was leaving both of them up.
Gotcha. Yeah, and when I think about it too, I would have thought he would have been the Wind Monkey because he doesn't have any immunity, so he has to deal with outside of the Fire Monkey. He has to deal with the potential stuns if he's not going for that unit first, right?
Correct, as well as Wind Monkey is my only form of defense break,
Gotcha.
which defense break is huge in RTA. It makes support units do damage. Let's just put it that way.
Gotcha. Here's an interesting scenario that you just brought about that made me think: defense break versus attack buff. We had a match that we were talking about three turns ago where we had I think it was the Chasun, we had Molong, and we had Perna in there, and there was an option where You went ahead and banned Jasoon for a different aspect here, but when it comes to like Perna, units that can provide that burst damage like Perna, if you're getting in a situation where you have to make a choice and maybe one unit's going to provide a defense break, unit's going to provide an attack buff, which one would you get rid of?
It depends on their team comp. So if they have a bunch of strippers, and can get rid of my immunity, then I probably ban the defense break. Let's just put it this way: a defense break is more threatening than attack buff. Okay. The attack buff is threatening, but the defense break is definitely more threatening. It's just that defense break is easier to prevent because of the immunity and cleanses.
Gotcha.
But in terms of a unit that provides everything to me, this is why I think Bastet is such a good unit. She provides so much, and that's why a lot of times I ban her. She's one of the monsters that I feel is a very good backbone to a team, because she can be used in any kind of team. She can be used in a heavy support team, she can be used in a YOLO team, she can be used in just about any kind of team. She provides the gauge buff, she provides an attack buff, she provides a defense-based scaling shield. I can't describe how important that defense-based is because of the timer in RTA. Yep. So because of the timer, HP-based scaling kind of goes down. Defense-based scaling gets that much better.
Right.
She also provides the heal block, glancing, defense break, and attack break. She brings everything in one unit, in my opinion.
Yeah, really nice unit. And then funny enough, one of your guildmates, Syntac, when we first brought him on board for the initial video of the year, talking about RTA and whatnot, he kind of basically stated that that defensive buff is probably one of the most underrated aspects of RTA, especially if you're a person that's playing the clock. So very, very great point there. Let's take a look at the final one that we got. Again, my apologies, I cannot pronounce the name. I need to learn different languages. It looks like, though, this is kind of crazy. I'm looking at the picture just a little bit closer here. Did you get the first pick?
I did.
I can't believe it, man. What is going on with this world? Holy cow.
So I did get first pick, and I picked Wuso like always. You notice a common theme. I have pretty standard teams. And he responded with a very, very threatening combo to me in the Ganny and Bastet. These two are extremely good together. They provide the longevity of your team if you let them both through with the shield, as well as they do turn denial. They give defense break, attack buff. They give everything you could possibly need. So it's a very good, solid core unit base to start with. I respond with my monkey and my pony, and then he brings out the Chiwu Lucian. This is one of those scenarios where I wish I would have picked Rakuni instead of the pony, but I'm going to have to make do with what I chose. And the reasoning for that is I would have not picked pony in this case because of the Lucian. And then I respond with the Rakuni and Laika. Laika, for obviously reasons, he has a Lucian there. It's scary. Laika can revenge it. If Laika and Monkey both revenge it, he's basically dead. And Laika does well against Lucian for the most part, as long as he doesn't crit all 3 cards.
Gotcha.
I'm expecting his last pick to also be something very damage-oriented here. So either Sierra, Faye, and Zyros are the 3 most common I see in this last pick slot, and he picks the Zyros. Looking at his team, I know I'm super tanky. All my units are extremely tanky. The only one under 35k HP before towers or leaders is the Laika, and he cannot be one-shot. So my first thought is I need to ban that Bastet instantly. It provides the sustainability, it provides the attack buff, it just provides way too much for me that I cannot leave it there. So I ban the Bastet. I'm willing to leave Lucian through without an attack buff. It's not that big of a deal. I'd rather just ban the Bastet, get that over with. For his side, my guess would be that he's going to ban the Wusa. However, he pulls a quick one on me and bans the Laika, which really scared me, I'm not going to lie. I think it was a good ban by him because of what I banned. And it should have worked out for him, however, it didn't. I'm pretty sure my monkey kind of went crazy this match.
They have a tendency to do that, that's for sure.
Yeah. But one of the reasons that also kind of didn't work for him is if the Chiwu was a Tiana, it would have worked a lot better because he risks that accuracy resistance mechanic with my my Wusa.
Right. And considering what we were talking about earlier, in this situation where he knows, or I mean, he could get the first turn, but he doesn't know what's going to get banned here, he probably went with like an accuracy lead, or do you think he went speed lead to try to get the first turn?
He went speed lead.
Speed lead. Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Cool. Well, all right. That is what we got for the fights. Let's go ahead and just kind of get a couple of questions out with regards to the current season of RTA. Obviously the biggest change was that violent mechanic here. After playing a handful of matches, what's your take on that? Do you feel it was a benefit to it, or a beneficial part of the RTA match? Do you like it now, or do you like it the old way?
I'd say it removed a lot of the RNG violent proc losing to C3s and G1s and stuff like that. So basically, you don't lose as much as you did before when you should be winning.
Gotcha.
I think another, kind of to piggyback off that, a big change was also the timer. That was the other big change this season, where the timer begins to go faster. And even though the violent change probably hurt me because most of my units are ruined violent, in fact, 4 of the 5 units when I use Chow instead of Leica are ruined violent. But for me, the timer change is such a big deal because my team usually goes fairly late into the game. So I can start one-shotting something with my super tanky units.
Well, that was some pretty interesting stuff there, Tdins. Let me ask you this, though. With regards to where it is currently at in the game, the timer, the violent procs, is there anything you would like to see implemented for the future seasons to make it that much better?
I think what they really just need to do is give better rewards, in all honesty, because there's a lot of people that just don't play RTA or don't try an RTA because of the rewards. It's kind of lackluster, the rewards for the amount of time investment that you have to put into it.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right. And then, of course, let's put it out there as well. For those that don't know, right, you are not just a high-end player, but you also do some streaming. So if people want to go ahead and check you out, it's going to be at twitch.tv/Tdins. Of course, I will provide the link down below. Last but not least, we got to bust out one of those call-outs here. So, considering the aspect of Educate and Dominate, it is a invitational kind of thing where we reach out to people. Think about all the people that you've played around, whether it's Guild Wars, RTA, whatever like that. You've been able to speak with some of the great minds out there that have provided a lot of knowledge and has taken the time to assist other people out there. If there was one person you wanted to call out to possibly be on a future Educate and Dominate to talk about whatever topic you want, who would that be and why?
I'm going to go with Faint Memory. He's a guildie of mine, and he's one of the people that, or he's the one that invented the Kamun Theo Ethna Guild War defense that is known in the Elegy Guild these days. So I'm going to call him out for some Guild War defense, arena defense, all sorts of advice. He's a G3 player, Guild Wars, arena, and RTA.
Very cool. All right. And so we're going to be wrapping up the video. Do you want to give any shout outs to the community out there?
Shout outs to all my followers, all the people that watch me on Twitch. I appreciate all of you. Thanks to you, Childish, for bringing me on. And I look forward to seeing you guys all later.
Definitely. All right, guys. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you guys have any other questions for myself or Tdins, probably Tdins, right? Because I don't know anything. Please do me the favor of putting it in the comment section down below, and we will be sure to check those comments after the video has been published. Thank you once again for tuning in. It's your boy Childish with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you all in the next episode of Educate and Dominate. We're out.